Sydney Discotheque, verano del 79, con la mejor música del mundo.
Okay, one. Ojaye. abusiafo sesei die yenam top connect so emani sika de bagana efi wiase afa na nyina yentua kapre ane aye free top connect amasika mane aye mrekra ne wohia ne se wo be download wo top connect app no e wo play store de ama wo android phone ana se wo use iphone so a ko apple store na download the top connect aye simple kra top connect wa manda buaduonum so wo Europe North America and Asia wo mane wo dofo sika fa top connect so a aye ntem na emre ne ma wa hoto so nso sese die sika mane di foforo kra any top connect so we hia chechemu bia fra top connect e wo +442 081 6155 and a +442 081 761 600 +447 882 950 088 and nasa hwehwe top connect e wa befo ntintanfidie nyina so top connect fasika mane wa dofo asumdiemu a untia kapre top connect yensu ye dienie.
I've said it and I'll repeat it again. Those who are coming to this administration thinking that it's an avenue for making a lot of money are going to be disappointed. They better go to the private sector. That is where people make money, not in government.
Right, hello. Welcome to each and every one of you. Those of you waiting for me to hear my voice on air for a long time. Well, what I can say is thank you for all those who rang me to show some sort of care and concern about the fact that MUSA have not been on air for a while, and it was true. I look a bit disheveled, and you see I've not even shaved for about 3, 4, 5 days. I don't look pretty at all. Anyway, I'm back after, fighting with the flu. It's serious. When you are getting on, you are getting the numbers naturally behind you, what we call the age. Simple things like flu, which in previous times we get by within 2-3 days. These days it takes more than 8 days and you still feel like, oh, Jesus Christ, what is going on? So yeah, I had that flu and I was miserable, very miserable. What compounded the whole situation was the fact that, instead of me relaxing and chilling out and say, oh, all will be all right, I was rather worried that, oh, I'm letting my viewers and my fans and my listeners down and say I have to go to the studio to carry on and this and that and this and that. Anyway, so that being the case, for almost since last week Friday, that was the last time I came to the studio. I was actually struggling. 1 or 2 people actually called to say, look, we saw you Facebook performance and you seem to be struggling, gasping for breath. I say it is true. I was really. But then, if there is something I got to say, that is, God's willing, everything is now very much okay. And still recuperating, but it will get better. It can only get better. You are welcome to the show. This is MUSA. The program is called Fire Obey, which is not literal at all. It is just metaphorical that, fire obey. We talk properly, otherwise fire obey. I don't intend to set fire to anything or anybody or destroy anybody's property or anything, And you, my fellows in Ghana listening, I usually want to tell you that be very careful, especially when you are dealing with electrical equipment and you are the connection into the main sockets and the plugs and the rest. Don't overload the plugs, the socket. Do not overload. These are the things that it generates heat, cause fire. Back here in Europe, things that causes fire mostly is gas. In Africa, it's electrics and mostly wrong connections. So be careful. Fire obeying you is just metaphorical. MANSA MUSA, very soon, I will welcome my guest, a chief from the ECOWAS region of West Africa, and he himself used to be the, a boss in his own right. Someone who was the director of political affairs at the ECOWAS secretariat, because ECOWAS itself is all about politics anyway. So this fella, he should have the insight, he should have the knowledge and the know-how about everything and anything if we should talk about ECOWAS. The name is Dr. Remi Ajebiwa. Ajebiwa. I don't know which one rhymes nicely and properly, I always love to call it, the way it sounds in the African, not the Europeanized form of our names. Dankwa, they say Dankwa, Obin is Obin, that kind of thing. No. I have to say it as it is. When he comes, I think he will correct me. Either I should call him Ajebiwa or Ajebiwa. Anyway, let's go for another Osibisa. Okay, you have come in. Can you hear me? Okay, you can hear me. I cannot hear you. Let me see. Hello? Can you hear me? Check your microphone if it's not. Okay. Hang on a second. It could be my fault here. Okay. Hello, doctor.
Yes, please.
Now I can hear you. Now I can. Okay. I can also hear. It was my fault. I had mistakenly touched some button which was wrong. I think we have one other colleague here in London. Kofi Ali, are you still here?
Yes, Kofi Ali is here.
Okay. Kofi Ali, we call him affectionately here, Mr. ECOWAS. I will duly explain why we call him that name, and he will explain himself later on and tell us what he's doing, to support the cause, the good cause in West Africa. But Dr. Remi, if I should start with you. Have you shared the link, especially the radio one and the Zoom? Have you shared them?
No, I've not shared it.
Okay,
I just got it.
Yeah,
I got it some 15 minutes.
What we do is I can barely see your eyes and your nose. So let your it's better. It's now better. Now I will have a little bit of banter with Mr. Kofi Ali. Whilst we will leave you to share the radio link I sent earlier on, then share the Zoom link as well, so that others, your interest can also hear you and maybe join in. So just use the time to share it.
It's only the host that can share in this meeting. Okay, but no problem.
No, just the link. I'm trying to say the link.
Okay, the link.
Yeah.
Okay.
You see,
no problem.
Because I'm not so much techie-wise, my engineers have set this one permanently. So just share the link. Anyone can come in. The only thing is they have to mute their microphones. But just share it, then we can come to the conversation.
Okay, I'll do that.
Right, thank you. Mr. Kofi.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, welcome once again. Yeah, I introduce you as Mr. ECOWAS. Your proper name is Mr. Kofi Ali Yekini, right?
Abdul Yakin.
And the reason why I said Mr. ECOWAS is that you are very keen. You have a keen interest in everything that is happening in West Africa in respect of the work or the activities or lack of, that of the ECOWAS. Without being specific, tell us about yourself and what you want, you do or you think ECOWAS should do.
Yes, my name is Kofi Ali Abdul-Yakin. Thank you for having me on the show, and well done for getting us Dr. Adiremi as well, because there are those on the ground So it's good we are able to get closer to what they are also doing so that they can update us on what they do. But Kofi Ali, I'm the chairman of ECOWAS Citizens' Rights Advocates. A lot of people thought when you say ECOWAS Citizens' Rights Advocates, I'm an employee of ECOWAS. I am not employed by ECOWAS. And it's just like forming Ansaruddin of Nigeria. That doesn't say they are working for Nigerian government, or Pentecostal Church of Ghana. That doesn't say they are working for Ghana government. Every citizen has a right, if they believe there is a part of something that they think is very important in their life, and those responsible for doing it are not addressing the things properly, then it's the duty of citizens, instead of sitting down doing nothing, get yourself together, form a platform. Do not remove yourself from the issue at stake while you are pointing fingers or raising concerns regarding the issue. To us, ECOWAS Citizens' Rights Advocates, we are more than concerned and aware that the ECOWAS is actually not interested in the people of West Africa. It looks like we have a version of a united kind of nation, whereas you see the European Union, those of us who have traveled across Europe, we can see how European Union is connected to the citizens of the European Union. In our case, we have a kind of a sub-department of United Nations. Without going too far, take a case of 27 youth who are alleged to have been, killed or died. Their bodies were found in Libya. That's the news we had this afternoon. It's what you expect is for our common platform, which is called the ECOWAS, which we believe our ancestors were creating the United States of West Africa. They are supposed to go there, find out what exactly happened.
NFM Radio.
It is possible when you do your findings, some of these young people may be from West Africa, and some of us believe they are ECOWAS citizens, a lot of them. Find out why and how. Go into the details, the parents of these people, and this is what we are seeing. If the people of West Africa, ECOWAS, we have the region cut into constituencies like European Union, and they are voting directly for their lawmakers to go to Abuja for a full-time job as legislators. I think we will have a better law to work with. We have nations that are in ECOWAS. ECOWAS doesn't even know how much they collect in tax from the multinational corporations. Talk less of what they do with the money. I saw a seminar by Dr. Remi, and when I went through it, he was talking about youth and how child abuse is taking place across West Africa, which is very abhorrent, because these are the young people who will be the leaders of West Africa tomorrow. You need to invest in them. And he was saying that the governments are not investing in education and welfare system. Have you asked Coca-Cola how much, or ECOWAS cannot even ask ordinary Coca-Cola, how much tax do you pay?
They can't ask. Kofi, let's hang in there. I know you want to flow. Hanging in there, because for you, most of your conversation or your contribution will be part of mine questioning to the fellow who belongs or who previously worked at the top level of ECOWAS. So hang in there. Let's go back to Abuja and reconnect with Dr. Remi Ajebiwa once more. Doctor. Hello, doctor. Are you there?
Yes. How are you?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Are you ready now?
Yes, yes, please.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Remi Ajebiwa.
Ajebiwa.
I want Ajebiwa. I won't forget. Yeah. Doc, let's start straight away yourself. You have been with the ECOWAS for a while. Tell us about yourself, how you started, how you got there, and your, in general terms, your scope of work?
Thank you. As rightly pointed out, I joined ECOWAS in February 2005, and I retired December 2022. Having worked 18 years at strategic level, I came in as like deputy director, which we call the principal program officer political affairs. That was in February 2005, and I rose to become the director 2014, director political affairs. Prior to that, I've already worked as what we call research fellow and also coordinator at the Center for Democracy and Development in London from 2000 to 2004. Prior to that, I've also worked in the US as visiting an adjunct professor of political affairs at Indianapolis University in Bloomington, as well as Minnesota. I was also a member of ACON, Association of Community Organization for Reform Now. I equally work as an associate professor of international relations at University Malaysia Sarawak, and then principally I did my PhD at Lancaster University under Professor Clapham. I wrote on regional security in West Africa, a comparative analysis of OAU in Chad and ECOMOG in Liberia, and that was submitted in 1993. I was in Lancaster under Christopher Clapham. Quite a lot of the scholars who West Africa Magazine then Professor Associate, and quite a lot of others were there. Then I was also a fellow at Sussex University at SPRU, Science Policy Research University, 89 to 90. And prior to that, I was a lecturer of international relations at University of Ife, Nigeria, where I work with quite a lot of colleagues from Ghana, like Professor Associate, and then Boateng as well, which we work on the integration together. Yeah, that's just brief background. And at ECOWAS, I've been in a strategic position. I've been part of the team that have been accompanying the mediators, the head of state, in the head of state meetings, where we call the three levels, the ambassadorial, the ministerial, as well as the head of state. So I was involved in most of the mediation process as well as the discussions from the 2000, and I've also served as technical person.
See, so obviously,
yes,
yeah, your system started fading off. It was going staccato, as we say in music. I think we are back now. Doc, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Now it's better.
The reason for that seems to be because I can't connect on the laptop yet, but I'm using my iPhone. Yeah,
I see.
No problem.
Okay, let's see. Let's plod on. Right. So you have been in the ECOWAS proper. From those of us sitting, watching from outside, excuse me to say my language. We say, this thing is not functioning. It is not used for purpose. It is not, helping the citizens. What the ECOWAS, the reason for it coming about, being formed, has it been able to achieve even 10% of that purpose so far, you think?
Thank you. I will tell you from the outset that apparently
reception is very bad.
The regional organization events, ECOWAS. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. We can now. Go ahead, let's see.
Okay. Apparently, I said ECOWAS was set up in 1975, essentially for economic integration. However, the situation around the late 70s and 89 in particular, you realize that we have what they call the internal revolution in terms of, you see the rebels going against the sitting government, and we have a lot of coup d'etat there. And against that background, the ECOWAS leaders, out of their own wisdom, believe there's a need to now focus on what we call security and peace, because they know without security, there cannot be peace and there cannot be development. So there's a linkage between the three. So it's against that background, after the civil war in Liberia, which was started from Nimba County, 89 December, and then we have the Sierra Leone, we have the Guinea-Bissau. When you look at all this, it was ECOWAS that came into it, and that's what led to what they call the revised treaty, whereby the issue of regional security comes into it, and also the issue of conflict management, conflict prevention, and conflict resolution, and then peacekeeping and security, which we call the mechanism of 1999. So when you look at it, you can say ECOWAS, though formed for economic integration, but it has been able within its time to resolve some problems, especially when it relates to conflict resolution. You will all witness what was done through ECOWAS, the ECOMOG in Liberia. We also witnessed what was done in Sierra Leone. Also, not only that, also it gives legitimacy to elections that are being conducted. It's part of what we call the supplementary protocol. ECOWAS is also allowed to go to member states to also observe and monitor the election, and also conduct what they call fact-finding and assessment mission to know how prepared the country are. For example, you also know ECOWAS has refused to go into some countries where they knew there was no level playing ground. In 2012, ECOWAS did not go to Gambia because of non-fair playground. Also, there are some, also Guinea as well in 2013. But ECOWAS has done quite a lot. You knew what was done in Gambia from December 16 to January 19, 2017. We all know where ECOWAS was able to use the carrot and stick diplomacy, and it really worked there. We knew what happened to the president of Gambia then. We finally led Yahya Jammeh, which led the country for Equatorial Guinea. I was there, and then some commissioners were there for 4 days. We were able to see to that. So when you look at it, ECOWAS has done. There are also other areas on both the economic as well. We have the free trade, we have the free movement, we have the border issues. ECOWAS is one of the regions where you see people traveling without visa from Ghana to Nigeria, Nigeria to Sierra Leone. It's visa free. Once you're ECOWAS citizen, that's another way. There's also the informal and formal trade as well, which is being done. We're looking towards the ECO, which has not worked, but nevertheless, there's been movement towards that. But there are some other areas that ECOWAS has really done well. As I've said, there's the issue of establishment of companies. People can set up 90 days, staying there and going out. Those are some of the things that I believe ECOWAS has been able to do. And that's why ECOWAS moved in the year 2007 from the ECOWAS of the state to the ECOWAS of people. And we have what we call the Vision 2020 then, which talks about the ECOWAS of people. Then we have a new one now, Vision 2050. More or less, it's a continuation. NFM and when you look at Vision 2050, it now talks about people-centric, that the organization will move away from the ECOWAS of government to the ECOWAS of the people.
Did you say ECOWAS was formed in 1975, right?
Yes, please.
That means I was a wee ignorant boy having finished elementary school that same year, ECOWAS, and we were so happy, very soon we, the people in West Africa, will become one, and we can travel from here. It was, the vision was so, welcoming. It was so nice. But you see, what we are seeing, or what most of the ECOWAS citizens are seeing nowadays, is that it is the elites of society, of politics, who gather to sometimes pretend as though they are working, in favor or for the benefit of the larger societies or the citizens. And in most cases, it does not work, or things does not work out as it is. For instance, there have been a lot of political, how do I say it, injustices, or some political instances in different countries where ECOWAS, if was a much stronger organization, could have intervened to get things done properly. We can cite from Cote d'Ivoire to I'm not talking about the recent coups, but where presidents have been able to manipulate constitutions to make them almost permanent, or give them more years to run the country. Some unsatisfactory election results, clearly seeing that things are not better. ECOWAS is just toothless. Will you say, I still want to, pull you a bit. Will you say that in the circumstance, you guys have been doing your best, and that there are certain, constraints that are not making you achieve that perfection, or that is the level of your knowledge that we as ECOWAS people can perform? What is it?
Yes, thank you. You've rightly said, having been in ECOWAS for 18 years, and I think that's a very good question, and having been partaking in drafting of the memorandum and the communique as Director of Political Affairs, what I quite agree with you, what we call the unconstitutional change of government, the UCG, which has continued to be persistent, feature in the historical trajectory of West Africa of recent. One, you've rightly said, whether we like it or not, ECOWAS still have that kudos that we have the civil society organization. It's the only regional economic organization that have civil society access to it. And that was to the glory of the former executive secretary, Dr. Chambers, that brought this group of WACSOF. We call them West Africa Civil Society Forum. We also have the WANEP. We also have the CDDs of this world. These are groups, and we are even gravitating to have ECOSOC now. But nevertheless, to answer your question, like myself, when I joined ECOWAS, I believe, having worked with civil society organizations like CDD, Center for Democracy, I believe the Pandora box, at times, the head of state are not ready to open the Pandora box, as you rightly said. And it's against that background, you will recall that even the Tanja Totem episode of Tanja, we managed to do it through the civil society. But you are right, we realize that the conventionally military takeover is what is being focused on by our leaders. Meanwhile, there are three types of coup which you can look. There's the coup which is being engineered majorly by the civilians and the politicians for the main purpose of sustaining themselves in political offices and disregarding the due processes, democratic principles, public opinion, and the rule of law, which you have just said. And such acts spearheaded by this political class, encouraged by political elitism itself, has characterized most of the West Africa political scene. And they themselves are constituting what we call unconstitutional. But it also paved way for the military incursion and increasingly political tension that we are witnessing and disregard for the rule of law. How do I say this? There are three areas. One, the issue of the military takeover, which is being focused by our leaders. Then there's the second one, the referendum, the tampering with the constitution of the country to favor them. The supplementary protocol on Democracy and Good Governance of ECOWAS stipulates under Chapter 12 that 6 months to the election, no country, no member state should change the constitution of that country so that nothing will be changed before the election. But what we tend to see over the last, since 2014, is that the head of state will change the constitution 1 year to the time, at times 18 months, through what we call the referendum, which Tanja did, which was done in Cote d'Ivoire as well, which was done in Guinea as well. This referendum, they will tell us that they add 70% of the total populace, where in some instances it will be only paid people that are brought there. So once the referendum is done and they say they can change the tenure of the leader, then it becomes a fait accompli for ECOWAS. I have sat on the position, I've known many times that we wanted to go. What we now call the state capture of the executive. The executive is the state capture. The executive now uses its power to capture both the legislative side and then the judiciary. It's happened in many of our countries. It's either, as the case of Mali, you see the executive IBK then buying the legislators to make sure that some members that are not voted in by the people came in at the end of the day. So that's one. The third one, which the head of state have not been focusing, is the manipulation of the election result, the electoral malpractice that we tend to see. There has never been level playing ground. We see what we call the incumbency, the power of the incumbent, the incumbency power, played a greater role. You see it in many of our countries that once they come into power, it is the same. They were in the opposition. I will mention countries like Senegal. When you see the people in opposition and they come to power, you see the same thing that they were blaming the government in power for is what they start doing. You see that where there's a lot of opposition now, is that opposition parties believe that for the 4 years is what we call zero-sum game. They will be put in the cooler. So against that,
so in this respect, Dr. Remi, Doctor, let me ask you, in this respect, ECOWAS should be able to come in, so to speak, using the normal street language to intervene when the laws, or the protocols are being abused by individual heads of state or in different countries, because the protocol should be observed by all, and if some people are abusing it. Now, ECOWAS sit by for the heads of state to do whatever they do. The citizens, they don't have the choice. That choice of being able to change government or governance is denied. At this juncture, one would ask, what choice have they got apart from some military officers saying, okay, if that's the case, we are taking over? You see, not justification for coups, but when citizens feel that democracy isn't worth maintaining or it's not working for them, what choice have they got?
Yeah, you are quite right. As I've rightly said, we tend to see that the head of state, we have already highlighted, they are focusing on the effect of the coup, but not looking at the cause, the CAU, what has led, which is what you just, that is lack of due process, what we call poverty in the system, and then the zero-sum game that they have been playing, and then also the lack of rule of law and abuse of human rights, which have been seen, and then even at times the distortion in the election process. But as I've rightly said, we've seen some countries where the people, the institutions in the country has gone against the government. For example, the third term agenda in Nigeria of President Obasanjo, the people turned against it. Just like even of recent in Senegal, where Macky Sall is seen with his hand, trying to guard the opposition, trying to bring some issues in. We've also seen that the oppositions have played a role there. But I also want to tell you that occasionally, not everything is known by the public. There's what we call in diplomacy backdoor channel. Okay. For example, I can categorically tell you people don't know why the issue of Senegal came. We call it back channel, which is also going on in Niger now. You know, these are eminent personalities. For example, like former president of Nigeria, Jonathan, former president of Sierra Leone, Koroma, as well as Obasanjo. They've gone up to 3 times. I accompanied them 2 or 3 times, not publicized, to see Macky Sall. And he assured that he would not go for the 3rd time. But however, we saw a different thing. But apparently, before that demonstration, they also equally visited him to tell him. But I quite agree with you. When the head of states, tomorrow we'll see what will be discussed again. When it has already been done in Burkina Faso, what we call the protest, the mass mobilization. Now, it has started gaining ground. We can't say they are not popular. Why we can't say they are not popular is that we see that people now express their dissatisfaction. And just to go by what Paul Collins says about the issue of grievances, greed and grievances, you see that some of the leaders, as rightly pointed out, they are basking in voluptuous luxury. They are even siphoning the money in other means, some are with corruption, while the people at the same time are in poverty. And they could see, and that's why I have a dictum, which I used to tell people, that when the ADC, that is the ones, the guards, the presidential guards, sees how the head of states or the president are spending money, and at the same time seeing how people are lavishing in poverty, they have no other option at times to take to gun. But we say that's not the right way, because we have the supplementary protocols that gives principles on how things should be. That is to say, zero tolerance standpoint against unconstitutional change of government. However, regardless of this framework, we see that unconstitutional change of government persists, and perpetrators have developed creative ways to circumvent the applicable sections of the framework. For example, you realize, as I've told you, we've done the review of the protocol since 2014, even from Ghana. Myself, in fact, we've done it 4 or 5 times now, and it is at the last stage that some member states, because of 1 or 2 clauses of term of office, because some countries' constitution, you don't need to argue on it. They've already stipulated that 2 terms. It is under those kind of contexts, they now bring all sorts of things that they are constitutional. And then EU. Also, you tell me that why ECOWAS do not. There is what we call the issue of sovereignty and supranationality. And I'm categorically telling you that has been a bone of contention. In fact, myself, I know it's being aired. The case of Guinea, when Professor Conte was there, also along this line, there were occasions before ECOWAS can move to any country. You need to write to that country, to the foreign affairs minister, that there is a mission coming. But on many occasions, just like we witnessed in Niger, they will tell you that the situation is not right for your coming. Or, why are you coming? Even we use all sorts of names. When you say it is for mediation, they will tell you, what are you coming to mediate? When you tell they are having. So there is the issue of sovereignty, despite the fact that member states ratified, and then they believe that they are signatories to all this. You tend to realize that some of the head of state, to perpetuate their atrocities and do whatever, they will tell you, we don't have any problem. So more often than not, there is a conflict between the issue of sovereignty and that of supranationality. Even that one brought an issue between those three countries that I said. One of the countries said, what right does ECOWAS have in telling us that we only have 2-term limits? When countries like Chad, when countries like Rwanda, where they have people where they have been there, and also they look at ECAS and other East African countries. They said, what is ECOWAS? Why are you? That this is only regional organization that will poke nose, that will go beyond its mandate. But we often inform the technical staff that the supplementary protocols allow ECOWAS to make sure that the normative principles are guided and at the same time adhered to by member states. So it's the I remember I want to use that. Some of these head of state, they are even faster ahead more than the regional organizations. They
so you see, still, we are here to speak on behalf of the ordinary ECOWAS citizen, and that is, for instance, most of the things you have elaborated or explained, maybe the ECOWAS will not win outrightly, right? Maybe the ECOWAS will not succeed in changing a president or head of state's mind or intentions, fine. But at least, the optics, the aesthetics of, or the knowledge that, that body was even against it. That ECOWAS body was against, let's say, MUSA trying to stay in power again. The recent example is what is happening in your own mother country, that's Nigeria. We are all aware that as we speak, the election results is being disputed somehow. Straight away, ECOWAS goes to give the newly elected president the ECOWAS chair, responsibility. It doesn't bode well. I mean, it doesn't augur well. It doesn't, in the eyes of people, in our minds, the ordinary people, we see that the ECOWAS is too quick to, let's say, how do I say it? To be submissive or to answer to serve the powers that be, that is the authorities in individual countries, without any objection to some of these shenanigans, and that isn't good. Or maybe I'm being too simplistic. Tell me.
Okay. Thanks so much. With respect to the election in Nigeria is being on, but with respect for Tinubu or Nigeria, Tinubu is not the one that is elected. It is the country. Usually in ECOWAS, it is the country. We have three blocks. We have the Francophone. We have the Francophone. We have the Anglophone and the Lusophone. Earlier, the previous one was from Lusophone. Guinea-Bissau has just left the position. I hope you know about that. Prior to that, it was Ghana. Then prior to that, it was Togo. Then before Togo, it was Côte d'Ivoire. Before Côte d'Ivoire, it was Burkina Faso. So let me give an antecedent. I've brought it from like 2014 and from 2012 now.
Yes.
So from 2012, it was Burkina Faso. Then that was blessed. Then later on, it came to Ouattara from 2016 or so. Then later on, it came to Togo, 2018. Then later on, it came to Ghana. And from Ghana, it came to Lusophone. And now again, they brought it back to Ghana. So it is the country. And it is among the head of states that they make the choice among themselves. Possibly in their wisdom, they envisage that Nigeria, being the regional power, with all the mediation processes, with all the transitional processes going on, it will be only Nigeria that could stand with the provision of what they call the logistic. I'm here to tell you that with my 18 years in ECOWAS, when it comes to logistic, for a mediator, we have 3 mediation processes at the same time in Burkina Faso, in Mali and Guinea. And look at the mediators in each of it. The mediator for Mali was Jonathan. The mediator for Guinea was Yayi Boni. The mediator for Burkina Faso was Issoufou Mohamed. I want to say, with all respect, that if not for Nigeria, even for my 18 years there, the special flight was provided during the time of Obasanjo when he was the chair. Even when they leave the office, the same thing happened when Buhari was there. It was Nigeria providing plane for the three mediators on many of the occasions. And second person in line was Ghana. When Ghana was the chair then, it was providing for the foreign minister who, as the chair, will also have to visit. I travel along. So some of the member states, whether you like it or not, I am saying it openly, they don't have the capability.
Yeah.
Logistical capability. They don't have the financial capability. And they don't have even the leverage. I can tell you, I travel up to 15 times with Jonathan. I travel with, and it was Nigeria aircraft, plane, provided by Buhari then. Then, same thing with Issoufou. I travel with him. So these are kind of things. And that's one of the things I used to tell people, that mediation is not as outsiders thing. It involves a lot of money.
So it means ECOWAS itself, if I get what you mean, is somehow divided, not very, efficient, not cohesive. They're working on part-time basis. Let me ask, I've got my last question before I will bring those who have joined us to also ask questions. And my question, it's not the last, but I will let other people come in, then later I will come with more questions. My question now is, how is the ECOWAS funded? Where do you get your monies from?
Yeah. ECOWAS is funded by what we call community levy. And it's 4% of every export done by member states. And Nigeria, being the primus factor, the regional leader, I can also tell you, provides up to 65%. So then followed by Ghana, followed by Cote d'Ivoire. Yeah. So when you look at the total population of the 230 million, with what is being exported outside, that's where the money comes. We call it community levy.
So
and it's what
are you not getting any aid or grants or anything from outside the ECOWAS community, outside the West African community?
We do get from what they call European Union. But the proportionate of European Union contribution, I'm here saying it for my experience, is like less than 20%. 20% then we get from Danida, we get from GIZ, we get from other, we get from World Bank as well.
Keep it a bit slow for me. European Union, we understand. The other one, what do you say? From where?
We have the Germany.
Oh, Germany. So European Union brings something different, something small. Germany brings something small. Then who again?
Yes.
France.
We have the Danida. Danish government.
Sorry. Okay. Danish. Yeah, Danish from Danish. So individual European countries bring some small supplements, right?
Actually, we have what they call the resource mobilization. They will have what they call the basket fund.
Yeah.
The basket, what is used in those instances, they can fund what they call the juicy one. It might be diplomacy. It can be also in terms of mediation processes. But more often than not, their money are not using on mediation purposes. I've told you, because it's with some conditionalities. They might expect, for example, the head of state to go in an economy. That's what they will put on there. So we, as on our own, we don't expect any former minister or a former head of state to go on economy. So on that basis,
so obviously, look, in Ghana, I know in Nigeria and elsewhere, they pay something they call the ECOWAS tax on certain things, on importations and the rest and the rest.
That's what we call the
okay,
that's
if
what
you have been, you guys have been in existence, or let's say all of us, after all, it's for all of us. We, the ECOWAS, have been in existence since 1975. How come we are living on subsistence? I mean, on what do we call it? Like we are living on how do I say it? We are not self-sufficient.
Donor funded.
We don't donor funded. We are not self-sufficient. The ECOWAS don't have a Kofi Ali. I will let you come in, please. You see, we don't have the proper money. The ECOWAS don't have since 1995. Let me give you one instance. I recently heard the president of Kenya, I don't know, Ruto, his name, whether you heard it, complaining that the EU had didn't have, is it 5 million or something to give to, is it Somalia or Djibouti, one of the countries there, in serious situation, they need just some small amount of money. The EU didn't have it, and they are waiting for some help from Europe. I mean, look, why are we doing this? For instance, we know that the French-speaking countries apparently have some monies that they have to send to, let's say, to France every year. And when they want to withdraw that money, they actually have to borrow. One instance, let me also say this, I don't know, maybe you heard it or not, but a story that was told by one president, South Africa president, that some years ago when Mandela was alive, early in the morning, Mandela got a telephone call from the Benin president, actually begging that Mandela should go and beg on his behalf, go to France or call the French president to beg, because they were threatening him that if that year's sort of contribution by Benin is not received in, I think, a matter of a week or so, then they know what to do. And Mandela, those days, the Europeans love him to the hilt. So when he spoke, the French accepted to give him another 6 months for him to do the contribution. ECOWAS, since 1975, we should be able to have, stop these sort of things that does not bring money to the citizens. It does not make money for the citizens. It does not benefit the citizens. All the monies almost go out, and ECOWAS is doing nothing. Once again, I want to ask, am I being too simplistic?
Yeah, thank you. But I also want to make a correction there. Unlike any other REC or even AUC, I'm not putting them down, go and look at the record. 70% of the expenses comes from the community levy of ECOWAS. Yes. And that was why in their reform of 15 commissioners now come to 7. We have 5 commissioners, VP, and then the president. Then some member states also are not paying. I don't want to name shaming or so. Some member states, out of those 3 blocks, we have some countries that have not paid for 10 years, but what are the penalties for them? When you look at the Supplementary Act on sanction, it also gives, of 2012, when seeing that some member states are not paying, I don't want to mention those member states, they've not paid, but the sanctions for them is that they will not be represented. But they will not be represented at the ECOWAS Commission or at International Organization for a Position. But this has not been fully implemented because of what we call consensus. And unlike UN, where we have the special veto or people like that. But at ECOWAS, it's on number. The weighted average is not there. It's on number. And when you look at it as well, so when those member states, and then 3, some of our partners or development partners, they tend to be committed to some areas. For example, they are most interested in preventive diplomacy at times, on conflict prevention and mediation. So in those areas, because of the success stories of ECOWAS, they put their money there. But however, I will also say that you are possibly right to say, why do we have to get money from partners? And at the same time, the citizens might be right to say that he who dictates the piper dictates the tune. That possibly that is why they believe certain policies are being teleguided by some of our former colonial masters. Let's put it. Because like the echo that we will have gone into, it is being attributed that the delay has been to some of the colonial masters as well. But however, I want to say that 70% of what ECOWAS spends comes from the community levy. And there has been a part of reform being what we call reform that have been going through the process since 2007. We had one, then we had another 2014, just to look and reassess the ways in which the money comes in. But you can try to confirm again, 70% of the community level goes into what we spend at ECOWAS. The other one comes from the partners, mainly the EU. EU is another.
So without those coming from the partners, as you call them, will ECOWAS be able to, sustain itself without those funds?
ECOWAS will be able to sustain itself. I could tell you the areas where the partner comes in, like in the case of Guinea-Bissau, where they were able to help with the building of the barracks for those, when you look at the security sector reform in Guinea-Bissau, and they also help us with, in terms of the two countries where we have the peacekeeping force there now, in both Gambia as well as Guinea-Bissau. They also help us with some of the payments there. In those cases, that's why the mandate now is they are wrapping up the mandate, just as part of what I told you that the reforms are being envisaged. That in as much as possible, those police components, the civilian component, as well as the military components. In fact, most of the peacekeeping areas we have now, we don't have military components there.
Okay.
We have only civilian components.
We'll come to the current situation. In fact, that is what we have to discuss. And for now, I have to say I appreciate your candidness. Your candor. The fact that not many, only few of people in your line of work will accept coming to talk to ordinary people. In a way, most of the listeners and people even on this panel, they are not ordinary, but it's just a descriptive sort of adjective. But let's take 45 seconds commercial break, just 45 seconds quickly. Then we will continue.
Bisiafo, sese die ye nam top connect so e mani sika de bagana e free wiase afa na nyina ye ntia ka pre. Ane aye free. Top connect amasika mani aye mrekra. Ye wohia ne se wo be download wo top connect app no e wo Play Store. Dia ma wo Android phone. Ana se wo use iPhone so a ko Apple Store na download the top connect. Aye simple kra. Top connect wa man be bro num so wo Europe, North America and Asia. Wo mane wo dofu sika fa top connect so a aye tem na emre na mawa hoto swonso sese die sika manye di foforo kra any top connect so we yan chechemu bia for top connect our +442 081 6155 and a +442 081 761 600 +447 882 950 088 and nasa hwehwe top connect our befont intefidie nyina so top connect Fesika mani wa dofo asumdie a wontia ka pre Top Connect yensu ye die.
Right, Top Connect, these are remittances organization. For those of you who don't understand the Ghana lingo, this company based in the UK here, they do the money, sending when you want to send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Liberia, especially the English-speaking countries. Top Connect If you go on the internet and you Google Top Connect, all information is there. Right, so let's come back to our conversation. I've got one on the telephone, and I will soon go to the panel on the Zoom. Okay, the telephone one has dropped. I'll soon go to the Zoom. But Doctor, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
If I don't see you, then I'm thinking, okay. I have a lot of concerns of most of the issues highlighted. I think I should be able to express. All right, fine. Kofi Ali, don't worry. I'll let you express your concerns. Anyway, you see, the idea, we Africans, that after several years, hundreds of them, of colonialism, slavery, being humiliated up and down, one would have thought that after the Azikiwes, the Nkrumahs, and the rest of our famous leaders, whom we don't even mention these days, except we go to Russia for Putin to remind us of our heroes. Otherwise, our contemporary leaders nowadays, what they do is to mention the names of American slingers. That's what I call them. American president. What they say is what our leaders will come and express as though we belong. But my question is that, why are we not working towards self-sufficiency? Given that these, our so-called partners, they know very well that if the mentality changes and it's not about going to fight anybody or hating anybody, but if we are able to stand on our feet, we will have the bargaining power. We will have to say, this is how we want to sell this. You want it? Fine. You don't want it? Go away. Instead, we are still at their mercy. And it's like whatever they say we have to follow. Whatever they say we should do, that is what we have to, they say jump and we ask how high. My question to you is that, do you think we are nearer the era, the time where West Africans can actually, look after themselves? Like I said, we have a lot of questions regarding contemporary issues, the current coups and, people dying here and there, the refugee situation, the what we call the shame of seeing black Africans sitting on desert, 5 people sharing a Evian bottle of water. And ECOWAS, as we speak, this is my last question before Kofi Ali comes in. ECOWAS, I have not even heard them in the news talking about how to even just inquire, find out what is going on. Why are our Africans being betrayed by part of our group who belongs to us, so-called African Unity? They are betraying us on behalf of the Europeans because the Europeans have given them some pieces of silver. Why are we not effective? It's a bit philosophical, but if you have answers.
I think one way is that this issue of apostrophe with our colonial masters is still playing a role. Whether we like it or not, even within the organization itself, we could see the Anglophone, the Francophone rearing its ugly head, the dichotomy there. You all know, you are just saying it in a diplomatic way. The same thing, you realize that most of the colonies under France as well, they're still down to the apron string of France, given the fact that quite a lot of people believe that in terms of their gold, which you do want to say, still there. And then you add of recent that some of the things that have led to most of this coup is that some of them even want to liberate themselves from the apron string of the colonial masters. So it could be said in a right way that it's the right direction, that they are also trying to gain their autonomy, though the independence is there, but how independent are most of it? But at times when you also look at some of the Anglophone, those that Ghana, Nigeria, to a considerable extent, you could say that Britain does not hold much to them. There's a sort of flexibility unlike the other one as well. So when I look at it like that, this often, and with the organization itself, ECOWAS.
Sir, with all due respect, under your noses, ECOWAS noses, after the unfortunate massacre and unnecessary killings in Sierra Leone, ECOWAS will say, "Oh, they took part to bring peace." But after that event, most of the oil, the iron mining and the what we call it, the diamond and the rest, being done by European, what we call British European companies, not African companies. Africans are not participating in the wealth of African countries. So where do we stand?
Yeah, you are right. Possibly, I know about the blood diamond. That's part of why, just to bring it to limelight with what is correct. That's why people were often even saying this current crisis in Niger, is it because of uranium? Is it because of the interest of some countries there in the uranium there? Or like the case of Guinea, is it because of the bauxite, the natural resources? So you tend to realize that more often than not, that the resources play a lot, and now that the African countries are not interested. We saw the role played by Nigeria in Liberia.
Yes, go ahead. I think we're having internet problems. Just when it's getting hotter and livelier. Dr. Ajebiwa, can you hear me? If you can hear me, what I will say is drop the line and rejoin.
The fact that Nigeria did all that, it's like a father.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah.
Now it's better.
I'm back.
Yeah, now it's better.
Yes.
Yeah. Carry on.
What you tend to see that we don't have in Africa or West Africa is the investment aspect. We call it diplomacy. We call it economic diplomacy. It was done by Jaja and Wachuku, that in cases where there was, where West African countries spend a lot of money, those after or during those periods, they should be accompanied by investors to see how they can rebuild that country, so that even the resources and everything could be brought back and then be an investment for the Africans. But it never yielded much at the end of the day. Yeah. So I believe we are on it, and that's why people are cautious on the Niger problem. That this thing, is it for who and who?
Okay. Kofi Ali.
Yes, sir. At long last.
Yeah. Yeah. So you may ask your questions, and allow him to give us the answers. Take it away.
I believe Dr. Remi Ajebiwa. He's not a politician. I want to believe he's not a politician. From the background he gave us, there is no political experience of someone who has, you say, this is a politician who has gone into politics and gain access to public office. So technically, we are talking about technocrats, someone who was invited by the ECOWAS and given a job to do, right? So if he's not a politician, the question is that if he was not given the job by ECOWAS, which is a political job, that is what he's doing from everything he has told us. If we have the ECOWAS having election like the European Union, right? Someone like him could sell himself to the public, get elected. These issues he's talking about are issues politicians get mandate to address. Now, if we are going to have a body, which he told us they have Agenda 2050, is he technically telling us that 2050, which I'm sure he and I and probably you will not be alive, are we going to sit on ECOWAS?
I will try and see if I can suspend my going.
I want to find out if he, from what he's telling us, 2050, and that is their bold agenda of ECOWAS that has come into being to empower West Africans to take their destiny, economic, political, and technological destiny into their hand. And then you have your levy coming through imports, because 90% of what goes to ECOWAS is from import duty as levies. Yes. So is he going to tell us that this levy the ECOWAS is taking from the people, is it not impoverishing the people more? Because if almost 60 to 70% of Ghanaian consumption are imported goods, and on this, you are taking those and then paying people's salary in Abuja. So rather than you taking care of West Africans, EU send money to member nations, and they use that resources to control issues or invest around. In the case of ECOWAS, ECOWAS is depending on the vulnerable countries and the impoverished people there to be those importing so that they will keep the ECOWAS going. How does this add up, sir?
Doctor?
Yeah. Okay. As rightly pointed out earlier, it's an agreement. In fact, it's a laudable agreement between the member states, which I told you even AU, as well as other recs have succumbed to, have also started, and they call it has even metamorphosized into other areas. We call the Peace Fund now. But what you just said is an agreement, and is what the head of state agreed to. But saying that the brunt will be on the people, you are right. The people are feeling it in every member state, and it's not even only in Africa or even in West Africa. Now, even in Britain, where you are, there we could see the rate of the interest rate, how it's going up. Everywhere there is the there is the recession as well. So what I could say under that is that with the Vision 2050, as you've rightly said, it encompasses 3 anchor areas whereby individual in the ECOWAS space will be able to actualize all its potentials. That is, where potentials of individuals will be discovered, then they will be able to develop it through education, through the technology, as well the individual will be able to deploy it. Not only that, it is also a space where they believe that with the ECOWAS space, there will be peace, security, and then consolidation of democracy. And the third aspect is, if possible, that within the ECOWAS state, it will come to an integrative whole, that the issue of economic integration will further be realized. So I think that's the objective of the vision. It's a continuation of Vision 2020, which centers on the ECOWAS of the people and not ECOWAS of states. So I was part of the committee of directors that's into cognizance the views expressed by the citizens. The civil societies were also involved. All stakeholders were involved. Member states were visited, and they look at it each and every stage. They try to what they call, there's a term we use, it's been adopted at every level by the various stakeholders, the citizens, the civil society, the ministries of trade, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They were all part of the groups that made it. But I believe that with the Vision 2050 and given the examples of what we've been witnessing, whereby the issue of rule of law, human rights abuse has been the bone of contention that has led to most of these schools, and those things are addressed there. I can categorically send a copy to you if you want to see it. But we know there are areas for ECOWAS to build on, and that's why they had to move it, just like the AU 2063, ECOWAS 2050, and then the UN as well, the Millennium Development Goal.
All right.
I think you didn't.
Yeah,
you didn't understand my question.
One second, I'll let you continue. The gentleman who has just phoned, let Kofi Ali finish with his submission, and I'll let you in, please. So kindly wait. Kofi, go.
Yeah, I don't think he got my question. You are talking about ECOWAS of the people. Reading the treaty setting up the ECOWAS parliament, it was very clear, stated that the ECOWAS of the people must have the parliamentarians elected directly. That is how we say we're going to do democracy. How can we be having democracy where in Ghana we vote for our members of parliament to Ghana? And then some Europeans and some dodgy people choose people from our parliament to go and represent us. How they say they are going to Ghana parliament. They didn't say they are going to ECOWAS parliament. If someone like Dr. Remi is somebody who is a good politician and he go and present himself as representing the people at the level of the ECOWAS, and all this catalog of problems, put it before the people, they elect you, and then you go there. Ghana, we have 8 seats. Why do you want to have ECOWAS of the people using some dodgy NGOs? Is that how to do democracy? If you want us to do democracy in Ghana and Niger, why is the ECOWAS itself? Why are these technocrats not coming down to say that, you know something, the 2050 is too far? What is stopping them? We are Ghanaians. We vote for our politicians in Ghana. Why are we not directly voting for those to go to ECOWAS? Why are they telling us about some dodgy plans when the problem is before all of us? Or we are too stupid. We don't have the brain to vote for like the European Union is doing. Are they saying that what we have formed now is going to be like United Nations? What we want is a European version.
Okay.
If you check ECOWAS,
I think
you will realize that the institutions of ECOWAS are not designed like European. They are designed like a European Union. And in EU, they vote directly for their members of parliament. Why are these ones sitting in Abuja telling us that we should be voting for part-time politicians in Ghana who never go to that place? They go for 2 weeks, it's over. Twice a year, it's over. If they are going to be legitimate and genuine lawmakers, why are they not voted by the people?
Okay.
That's
all right. We shall allow Doctor. Dr. Ajebiwa. This thing has stalled again. Doctor, are you there? It has stalled. His Wi-Fi, but I'm sure he will be back. Doctor, can you hear me? Is this okay? Let me check the message I'm receiving because I think he's struggling to get the iPad working or computer working. It's not working, so now he's trying his best to re-enter. I'm giving a commentary because I can see some movement. Hello, Doctor. Are you there? Are you back? Hello. I can see movement. It's just that the system isn't helping. Let's see. Hello, Doc. Are you there? You see, he tries to.
You see, this is what we are talking about. Every technology over there is not working.
I'm surprised because I think
my brother, we are backward in everything. The ECOWAS is failing.
I think Nigeria.
It's a failure. It's corrupt and failed.
I think Nigeria should be.
Let us all talk about this so that they wake up. Those who have been given jobs.
No. The thing is, look, I share your sentiments.
They don't tell the leaders the truth.
Hello, Doc. Are you there? I can see he's making movement, but the sound, either the sound is off.
And then this thing and all this bureaucratic
Hello,
bodies.
Dr. Remi Ajebiwa. Can you hear me? Doctor,
so while you are trying to get him,
go ahead.
Let me fire on.
If anyone to want to say something while we are waiting for him, you can also raise your hand and come in.
You see, ECOWAS is shying away the authority at the Abuja level from being democratic. And they are doing what America is doing in the United Nations. Be proud you are Nigerian. We are all equal in ECOWAS. Nobody, no country, every country is one country. No country, no matter how big the size, ECOWAS is designed to take care of all those things. So if fortunately some doctor is a Nigerian and is showing how Nigeria is doing well, that is not doing well. If the ECOWAS is working, all the nations will be doing well. Are we not even ashamed to say that some of the countries cannot pay their due because they have too much problem in their country?
Yeah, for 10 years, if a country has not paid its dues,
and then you say Europeans,
that is serious, isn't it?
Is it not because of these same Europeans who formed the ECOWAS who are putting sanction on us? It's the same because of them. And then we have the ECOWAS that is in bed with them. A lot of the money they used to take care of that ECOWAS, that is why we say that place is corrupt. Look, democracy, we believe in it. But people cannot sit down. You have France taking everything away from that Niger. People are suffering. And when we talk, they say we are Islamic terrorists. Where is ECOWAS for American soldiers to be on the ground? French soldiers are on the ground. British soldiers, they are killing people. ECOWAS is sleeping. And now ECOWAS is waking up. We can't fool ourselves.
The gentleman with your hands up, I can't see your name. If you want to say something, go ahead.
Right. Okay. Good evening, good afternoon, good day to wherever you are. Sam Oyabayo is my name. I just stumbled into this, and it's interesting what the ambassador has been saying. Is an eye-opener. But we must be cautious that not every ambassador has the God to speak to the people like he is doing. So we must commend.
Sambayo, I totally agree with you. I mean, I am honored. I am even, very grateful because, many of them, I've tried many of them, and they wouldn't even, either they are afraid or, a whole lot of. This guy is something else. And
why is this ECOWAS about diplomats alone?
Anyway,
why don't we have human beings?
Kofi, let Bayo make his point. So, Sambayo, where are you calling from?
I'm in the UK at the moment.
Okay, let's go. Take it away.
Yeah. My thinking is the way forward, and I like what the gentleman that spoke last talked about. Election into ECOWAS rather than selection, which people should put in, what they want to do when they get there, and there should be an election to become members of the ECOWAS. It's a shame that it's been dragging because ECOWAS is as 1960 something, I think. Is it 60 or 75? 75, thank you. That's a long time ago. Nearly, how long? That's like 60 years ago, going there, nearly 60. So it's quite a long time, and it's made very little progress. And there need to be re-engineering of that union. I think the union is very important, but my own worry is a union that has the structure, the French and the English created countries across West Africa. I wonder whether it's going to get any far, because most of those countries were not organically created by people. the indigenous people. They are created by these looters. I would like to create
but then, I like this conversation. Which of the countries in Africa was organically created?
Can't even think of one.
Exactly. So you see, but you see, on behalf of the Francophones, at least of late, we can say that they are trying to, extricate all
the French.
They most of them have now come to understand that they need to get away from the yoke of the French people or from France, and they are doing better. Instead, I can say that the most of the English speakers are rather more, getting into the Americanism and with British, more than the French-speaking countries who are fighting to get away from France. So we have to at least applaud them for doing that, Bayo. Or you don't agree with me?
Definitely. I highly applaud them. And I don't really support any intervention that Nigeria is trying to do. I'm a Yoruba man, so I see myself more of that than call myself a Nigerian, because this is a country this is a name and a union that was not arranged by my forefathers. So yes, the French colonized countries are working hard, and we should support them in what they are doing. That is democracy. If you look to the streets
before others come in, if doctors the ambassador's phone has not dropped, in fact, I can say still that he's struggling with the Wi-Fi. Look, I was going to ask them that this ECOWAS meeting, the hastily arranged meeting, which proposed intervention, in Niger, was that decision, was it taken too hastily, in your view?
Definitely. They should have done nothing. Nigeria had coups. How many times? Yes. Which countries intervened in Nigeria? Yes. It's an internal thing. Let them solve it themselves. The good thing is they are not shedding blood. They're not shedding blood. So leave them to it.
I'm very happy you say this, because look, the coup that is happening these days, even in the Guinea and the rest, they don't even kill anybody. And yet, West Africans, Nigeria president and Ghana president, they were ready to send troops to go and kill. What came into their minds?
Exactly. What do we call democracy? Democracy is when what people really want. Say, we want this. What is happening in the Niger Republic now is what I would call democracy. You have thousands of youth on the street applauding these young men, these brave young men, saying, we welcome you, we welcome you. They are not killing the people on the street. They are working hand in hand with them. And apparently, I've just seen a video showing the ex-president, asking him to go home. There is no shed blood. There is nothing. When Nigeria, most of the Nigerian coups, where there's a lot of bloodshed, taking place, nobody intervened. So why are they going to intervene? Nigeria has a lot of. Niger Republic should not be a country different from some countries in Nigeria.
All right. I think
you see, Kofi Ali is still here.
I know you are.
What we are talking about is solutions.
Kofi, hang on. That's for me and you tap and let me. Kwesi.
Yeah, MUSA.
Yeah, what have you got to say?
Yeah, I'm okay. Can you hear me?
Everyone can hear you.
Yeah, okay, good. Good evening. Is Dr. Bayo there?
Doctor's phone has dropped.
Oh, wow. I wanted to ask him specific questions.
Okay. Unfortunately, it has dropped. In fact, I'm trying to get him on the WhatsApp. It's also dropped. I mean, he said from the beginning that he was struggling with the Wi-Fi connection or something.
Is not good in that.
So hopefully we'll get him back. But I'm surprised because Nigeria should have been far better than Ghana.
Oh, it's all the same.
Musa, I will come back. I will come back when you come back.
All right. Kofi Ali, let's go.
You see, I think the last guy who spoke is Bayo.
Bayo, yeah.
You see, what you have to see is that the 15 heads of states in West Africa can probably be those who will be talking about whether they are French or English. And I don't think that is their headache, or Portuguese, because we have 2 Portuguese-speaking countries in West Africa. Yes. We shouldn't forget them. Yes. The people on the street of West Africa are not interested in whether they are French or English. They are interested in bread and butter. They are interested in the solution to the problem of their life. So, if you bring the people into the ECOWAS, the proper decisions will be made. These divisions you see, it's only even the leaders are not seriously divided. The problem on the street of Ghana is what you want to take to that ECOWAS.
Yes.
The problem in Senegal is what you are taking to the people of Senegal are tired. We are all tired. ECOWAS of the people is the solution to this problem. When we sit down here, finger pointing is the French who are bad. Oh no, it's the English who are bad. Who is finger? We all have the same problem, all of us. The people on the sea, in the desert that are dying, they work as one.
Sorry. Ishola. Ishola. Mr. Ishola Williams.
So while we are talking about the ECOWAS of the people, this should be where we should talk more.
Kofi Ali, hang on a second. Mr. Ishola Williams, if you don't know, your microphone is on.
They are calling you.
Mr. Ishola, if you want to say something, get close to your microphone and say something.
ECOWAS of countries. What are our people?
Mr. Ishola Williams.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm asking whether
your voice is too far away. Get close to the microphone, please.
What has diplomat got to do with politics?
Mr. Ishola Williams, let's be hearing you properly. Get the phone or whatever it is very close to your mouth.
I will talk to him. I'll talk to him.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Let's have patience for Ishola Williams. I think he's also strong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
See, let me start with the point made about democratic elections into the West African Parliament directly by the citizens of each country. Where will the money come from? And will the parliamentarians volunteers? Who will pay them?
They are being paid already.
No, they are being paid by their own country.
My brother, we are already, so because it's expensive, we shouldn't do it.
No, wait. You don't jump into something which you are not prepared for. It's exactly what we are doing. It's exactly what we are doing as Africans. They want the French people to leave. India told donor countries, don't give us money anymore. We have enough money to look after ourselves. Because India got to the stage, they did not do a coup d'etat to do that. Okay? The point is that Africans talk too much. Asians don't talk. They act. They walk. That's what the Asians do.
Mr. Ishola Williams, I totally agree with you, but we are talking about ECOWAS. How do we make it work?
No, in the case of ECOWAS, the point is that about African organizations. And I've told Dr. Ajebiwa that when you look at the EU, for example, which they copy, like you said correctly, EU listens to people, organizations outside EU. They're always begging for ideas. They want people to bring them ideas, not the ECOWAS. You send
them. But Mr. Shola, I don't get. You see, we can all accuse ourselves of our shortcomings. I totally agree with you that things are not working. But someone with a solution is saying that in order for the ECOWAS system to work properly, we need to, the people that represent the citizens must be voted in. You are saying that maybe that will be too expensive, or what?
That's one thing.
So because of that, we have to. So because of the expense, we have to dissolve the ECOWAS, or what?
I don't know what you are talking about, really, because ECOWAS moved gradually into settlement of parliament. Now you have the parliamentarians, like you said, coming from their countries and being paid by their country. Okay?
To do nothing.
If you change the system to what the European Union is doing with the European Parliament, you must remember that European Union does not beg money from anybody, does not receive money from any donor. All the members contribute, unlike African countries, where they don't contribute.
You see, on this particular point, I totally agree with you that even the ambassador, the diplomat also said the same thing, that some countries have not paid dues for 10 years, which is strange, you see. And it doesn't, it's not only in the ECOWAS group, but the whole of the African, continent, the AU, some people are owing heavily. So putting the funding aside, are you in favor that, look, we need to vote people in order to make it much more, successful, much more, in order to have it function well, democratically? Or because of the money here and there, you think we should do away with ECOWAS? What is your solution, Mr. Ishola Williams?
No, wait. You got to start with one thing. First of all, define the powers of ECOWAS Parliament. If you want ECOWAS Parliament and people to be voted directly from their countries to the ECOWAS Parliament, it means that you must accept to lose some sovereignty of each country, which your head of state will not agree.
I am happy you bring this one in. Mr. ECOWAS Kofi Ali, who is I'm with here.
Okay.
You see, I have had arguments with him on this, that the EU, the system is working because the heads of states of the EU itself want the system to work. But in West Africa, the ECOWAS, every country boss, every country chief, every country head of state want to be his own boss. They don't want to succumb. They don't want to submit. They don't want to, come under the ECOWAS. So with that in mind, how do we build an effective ECOWAS? Kofi Ali.
Good. Now, you see, this is very simple. So what are we talking about here? Are we talking about, I think
Kofi,
it's
one
Mr.
second. Mr. Shola Williams, how do I get your number? Because I want this discussion maybe weekend, Sunday or we have to, then I will invite you and rest of others and maybe another ECOWAS, somebody from West Africa to come and talk to us. But I want to know your numbers because your numbers are not appearing on the Zoom. If I could get your numbers, then I can, connect you anytime we want to discuss it. But let's think about it after the show. Kofi Ali, continue.
Mr. Shola, we have a problem and we are making the problem even more complicated. He said the problem will be money. The funding is not there. The money is not there. At the same time, too, it's looking like somebody is saying it's the leaders who will not agree.
The money is there. The money is there.
No, Mr. Shola, let him finish. Let Kofi finish. Mr. Shola, let Kofi finish. Let Kofi finish. Then I will let you come in.
So, from where the money is not there, now the money is there.
Yes.
So the problem then is the leaders who will not agree, isn't it?
That is one part. That's
good,
one part.
good. So if you look at it,
the other part is the citizens themselves. The citizens.
Are you saying the citizens don't want to vote?
Yes, the citizens themselves are not ready.
Please. Let us do this a bit maturely, sir. You initially said the money is not there. Now you've changed to say no, the money is there.
Wait. Why don't you listen to me? What I'm saying is that if you want to do that sort of system that the European Union is doing, you got to find the money. Okay?
From where?
In order to find the money has got to come from each individual state, which is controlled by the heads of state. Okay? In a situation in which we are going through an era of primitive accumulation. Okay? Primitive accumulation in which we followers allow our politicians to steal from the public good.
Oh, we are going to the issue of corruption. We don't want to go into that. Are you technically saying that?
It is important. It is very important because if the money is not stolen, then you don't have money to be able to do what you want us to do now.
Am I allowed to talk now, sir? Please be informed that United States of America started this same journey we are doing 200 years ago with corruption. So do not let's use corruption to what they call it, to discourage. You see, negativity will not take us to anywhere. So if you are saying that the leaders will not allow us, are you justifying the coup now? Because
Kofi Ali, we have brought in something now. It is a fact, whether we agree or not, that the leadership in West Africa is not as, welcoming of a stronger ECOWAS as the leadership in Europe are of the European Union. It's a fact.
I do not.
It's a fact.
I do. So, be patient.
Yeah, it's a fact. So how to get them to accept or to like it is where we have to go.
It sounds like a fact, and indeed we need to put pressure. The people, this is why we talk.
Yes.
The people, like he said, which is true, the people must show. It's written. This agreement is not new. It is in ECOWAS, the treaty setting of the parliament, that the people shall vote. It is not a new thing. And there is a condition to it that the leaders must agree. But the people must show they are interested. So there are chains of events that must take place.
Yes.
The argument that there is no money is neither here. Your child wants to go to school. You are saying you don't have money to pay school fees. In other words, they say if you think education is expensive, try ignorance.
You see, Kofi, you see, what you are saying, I agree with you before I let Mr. Bayo or MB comes in, is that, you see, some opportunities are being missed because maybe we haven't got the right people in the Home Affairs. For instance, if the Nigerian people, most of whom, or I don't say all, but most of whom are not, on the side of Tinubu, if I'm right, most of whom maybe didn't vote for him. If the ECOWAS was very vociferous, was very demanding of the actions of the Nigerian police or the army, which killed, the SARS, that demonstration, those things, we couldn't hear the ECOWAS saying much. Now, if ECOWAS come in to say that, hey, even though there is coup in Niger, these are our citizens, no matter what, we are not going to aggravate the matters by going with guns to go and kill more people. ECOWAS does not agree. You see, then ECOWAS will be speaking to the people. But this is the case. The ECOWAS themselves, they miss all these opportunities.
The ECOWAS is not connected to the people. It's only about what leaders want.
Are you?
And democracy connects people with the institution at the up.
Sure.
So this is what is missing all along. The ECOWAS of the people is what we want. And we can't wait till 2050. And we won't be alive. So what is there now is that Right now, what these 15 heads of state are doing is what France want, America want them to do. It's not what the people of West Africa want.
No.
So until we bridge this gap.
I totally agree with you. Let me come in with Kwesi, do you want to say something?
Yes, Musa, just a quick one. I was waiting for Dr. Ajebiwa to come back, but look at Sylvia's. Musa, you see, all the discussions you guys have been doing tonight, you've been listening carefully. But you see, what is happening within the ECOWAS country, our leaders within independent states, they know exactly the problem happening, Musa. You see, Musa, if you look at the citizen in the ECOWAS, there are three key areas that the leadership in every state should look at: trade, democracy, and security. But Musa, first, for the sake of the citizen within every individual state within the 15 ECOWAS countries, first, the currency for trade. It is very important. You see, they have a parliament in place in ECOWAS as we speak. But the problem they are having is the Francophone countries and the ties they have with the French. You see, when ECOWAS is able to make sure that they get a common currency across the West Africa for trade, that is where the initial structure will allow ECOWAS to make sure that within the citizens, they start trading among themselves.
Yeah, but you see, let me pick you on the first one about this, the French speaking, the Francophone being the problem. I can agree with you. I could agree with you maybe 10 years ago. But nowadays, I've repeated it. These guys are rather doing they are fighting the neo-colonialists. They are rather emancipating themselves more than the English speakers are doing. So why don't we rather embrace them, support them, Musa, and rather keep on accusing
them.
That is where I wanted Dr. Ajebiwa, the gentleman, the Nigerian gentleman.
Remi has lost the listener completely.
Yes,
he sent me this and that I'm trying to reconnect, but no Wi-Fi. That's what he sent to me.
Okay, that's okay. Musa, you see, that is where the technocrats, people like Kofi Ali, he has a passion about ECOWAS, they should do is that, look, how best are we going to make sure that these 15 West African states that form the ECOWAS can fight the issue of common currency? Okay? Because if they manage to fight that cancer and they defeat that, that will be a plus to developing the ECOWAS system. Yeah. But the Francophone countries, it's a big challenge because France, they're not going to allow their member states to easily give in.
You see, that place, let me correct you again. You see, Kofi Ali, sorry, friend, Kwesi, let me come in with that. You see, the moment you say, the France, they will not agree. I'm giving you an example that, look, Niger, as we speak, don't want to be with France. So instead of the rest, including Nigeria, to embrace them and bring them to their fold, rather, they want to go and fight and still...
Nigeria is the one being controlled by France. America are controlling them.
Ekufuado have sent us back to, they call the Paris Club. Ekufuado is going to join the French Legionnaire. So what again?
That is
you see, what we are not seeing is that parliamentarians are leaders. Or not only the presidents that are leaders, parliamentarians are leaders. In ECOWAS, the parliamentarians don't have the right mandate to do their work.
Yes, that
one the parliament is there.
No, that one I totally agree. How to get over that hurdle is the problem. And we know, you see, we have mentioned the difficulties here. One, the French issue. Two, the leadership in the individual countries. Then three, so many things like communication, how to get the citizens involved. All these things are there. Unfortunately, the fellow who should have answered some of these questions go, but I don't want us to be one-sided, and so people with different views. Mr. Ifem Ubi, can you hear me? Okay, he's not ready. Who else is ready? Williams or Abe? Bayo, you are all here. If you want to come and have your say, Sambayo, do you want to say something?
Yes. Yeah, I'd like to say something. Yeah, I think we talk like this. Thank you for this program. Whoever listens will take something home. Talk like this is very important so that we all learn and do better. ECOWAS of today needs to do better. And what my expectation is, what is the plan of ECOWAS? What is the long-term plan? I doubt whether they have any. What is 100 years plan of ECOWAS? 200 years plan of ECOWAS? They can then use that to bring down the 50 years plan, the 10 years plan, the 5 years plan, and then to see how they are achieving that. Although if ECOWAS solidifies itself in terms of quality, those countries that are not paying will realize that they are losing out. For instance, if it comes to business, I remember when Brexit was happening, a lot of companies had to leave United Kingdom. A lot of people lost their jobs.
Yeah.
Britain is yet to recover from Brexit that they did. They are regretting it now because business people know the effects of being in the EU, British people. So what I'm trying to say is, if British business people in those countries, in Niger Republic, in Guinea-Bissau, and all kind of things, realize that they can expand their business among the ECOWAS, community, they will make sure that their country that is not being paying is able to join it. But if it's just a talk shop, all they do is to talk and draw salaries, then who wants to join? That's why some countries, refuse not to join. And it's even a shame that we are receiving money from outside ECOWAS just because of sustainability. No, that is why they are now dictating what happens on the soil of West Africa, which should not be. So, in a nutshell, there needs to be a solid plan. It may be something that it may be a dream, but it's better to dream than just to wake up and have no plan at all, which I think is what ECOWAS is at the moment. They've been in inception since 1975, and for the fact that they are all being selected.
I don't know who will argue with all what you have said. I want to come in with to say, Dr. Remi Ajebiwa is still sending me message in and out. It's a network problem. I came in briefly and it goes down again. Anyway, let's see if he can. Let's hope that he can still come back so we can. But those of you, I have Abe's number. I have Kofi Yekin number. The rest of you, Mr. Ishola, Sambayo, and FM Ubi, I'm going to call out a number. If you can take your pen and paper, write that number down, then send either a WhatsApp text or any normal text to that number so that I'm going to arrange to get another day devoted to West Africans. I have some other guys from Sierra Leone and Liberia and other places so that I can invite you again either weekend or someday again, evening, then we can talk extensively. Who knows? If we keep doing this, then, the powers that be at home, someone, somewhere, will take the message away. In fact, that's what I want to do, that this ambassador who is now retired will take the message away to say, hey, guys, we are not the only people wise on the arena. There are some wise people somewhere, and this is what they are suggesting. So, Mr. Ishola Williams, Sambayo, and FM, kindly, if you are ready, write these numbers down. Are you ready for me?
That's fine, yeah.
Okay. So it is UK here is +44, but 07 897 266 297. Let me repeat. 07 897 266 297. If you haven't got it, later you shout on me, I will give it out again. So if you send a text to after the show to that number, then I can save it, WhatsApp, then I can send you this time the Zoom, the link, and whenever, sometimes I do my program here, it is the local Ghana lingo, which many may not understand. But when we are doing the West Africa international thing like this, or Africa issue, then of course, we can all speak the language we can all at least understand. Then I can invite you guys. It's that important. I'm appreciating every one of you giving the views. Even those of you who are not speaking, it's still very valuable indeed. I can see Dr. Remi's light has lighted blue again, so maybe he's getting back. But yeah, so Mr. Kwesi didn't finish. Kwesi?
Yeah, Mansa, let me add one or two and I'll be gone. Musa, you see, there is one or two things that our technocrats within the West Africa, they should look at it carefully. You know, when Kwame Nkrumah started his agenda, he wanted African unity.
Okay, I'm connected.
Oh, Kwesi, one second. Dr. Remi Ajebiwa is back. Doc, welcome back.
Yes, I
very good.
The network.
Many discussion has been behind closed doors. That's behind your back. And so, Kwesi, do you have a specific question you say you want to ask?
Yes, I have is the doc back?
Yeah,
Doc,
he's back.
I want to ask one or two questions. Doc, when was ECOWAS formed?
Sorry, Kwesi, what did you ask?
I said, ask him, when was ECOWAS formed?
Oh, Kwesi, we have spoken this about 1 hour ago. It was
1975.
1975.
Let me put my second question here.
1975.
Okay, someone ask him, why is it that the technocrats, he has been in ECOWAS for a while now, why are they not focusing on a common currency for ECOWAS?
Okay.
If the 15 states are struggling to get a common currency for ECOWAS, why not break it down that we have the Anglophone and we have the Francophone, so that they will stagger them and put them together. That look,
okay, all right, that is a good question. Listen, because of the network problem, let him answer so that he won't go. Doc, did you hear the question? Hello, Remi. We see we have problem. He's struggling. He's really, really struggling. He wants to do this, but
he's there.
I know he's there. But he comes in and gets frozen. The whole system gets frozen. At the moment I can see the microphone.
We can't continue with ECOWAS of aliens. We are seeing the ECOWAS as an alien organization.
What do you mean by ECOWAS of aliens?
When we are talking about development plan,
development
plan is something that is done by law.
Okay.
The lawmakers, we have not chosen them. Okay. The lawmakers have not been elected directly by the people.
Yeah.
So we are then talking about 15 leaders. Give them 1 week, all of them will be gone. Another set will come.
Okay. Kofi, hang on for me. Doc, are you back?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay.
I'm back.
Even if we don't see, very good. The question the gentleman was asking, why have you guys not concentrated on getting the ECOWAS the currency, the ECO working formally and properly across board? Oh, Doc's machine is really disturbed.
I tell you what, if he can speak to us on the phone via WhatsApp, that maybe because if the width of his reception is low.
Okay. Let me try. Kwesi.
While we are trying to get him,
Kwesi.
The dollar is the currency.
Kofi, let me call your name before, otherwise we'll mix every time. Kwesi. Hello, Kwesi. Hello, Kwesi. Hello, Kwesi. Okay. Kofi Ali.
You see, all over West Africa, our external trade is done in dollar. The introduction of the ECO is to replace the dollar. And when we stop spending the dollar, US will be a very big loser, followed by European Union and the United Kingdom pound sterling. So it's not in their interest for us to do this. And this is not something the 15 heads of states can just sit down and do. You need the parliament that will make the law for that thing to happen. They will be divided. But when the commission will propose, you put it as a bill to them. Then when the parliament, as we elect, agree, they will send it to the heads of states. And the head of state will just put their signature, depending upon what the argument. And remember, the people of ECOWAS will be behind everything, because we will be arguing and discussing and have people like Doctor on air explaining things, especially those that are elected.
Yes.
Yes,
but if once again I must say no one is going to even argue, because I think we are all in tune. And what I'm happy with is that you see the problem, the current situation where some people sat down and thought when they speak with that authority, with force, with the language of the gunslingers, the language of the Americans and the British, every time let's take armament and go and fight. Almost everyone who has come here today is of the view that that proposal to send troops to Niger to go and restore so-called democracy was very wrong. It was too hasty. Kofi, tell me something about that.
You see, sending troops to Niger, if democracy is working, will have been the right thing. You and I and everyone here knows this democracy is not working. It's not addressing any issue. How will democracy work? You see, the Nigerian government has no mandate. ECOWAS has no mandate to send troops to any part of West Africa.
Sorry, who came in? Who was that?
Is bio. I'm just saying, if democracy was working, there would not have been coup.
They would have been coup.
Not happy. That's why there are people on the street.
Yeah.
Yes.
The soldiers are not hungry for power. They are fighting the fight of ordinary people in the public, in the street.
So, you see, we can make democracy work, but that democracy must work at the level of ECOWAS. If the democracy is working at the level of ECOWAS, the heads of states don't need to go to their various parliaments. They will, because sometimes people could take arms for reasons that may be counter effect on the regional agenda. In this case, the regional body is like United Nations. When did you see United Nations go to Saudi Arabia by force for them to do democracy? They want to go to United Nations. When you let people in a country and they go to United Nations and they get some, what do you call it? Some goals to go as diplomats and so on and so forth. That is what they... So United Nations doesn't have the mandate to go to any country. It's America that used herself as a bully. And now the European countries who are taking advantage of this so-called banana republic democracy. We are getting hungry by day. Ghana today, people are praying they should be cool. Yes. In Nigeria, we are just laughing because they will be cool in Nigeria or
Is
Senegal.
anyone at all here who wants to say that West Africans should mobilize to go and fight in Niger? Is anyone at all here? Or anyone on the radio, you can phone me the line. Because I've been sent this letter. These are official letters signed by these groups. Ariwa Research and Development Project, Center for Democratic Development Research and Training, these are French, but they are all of the view that they have written, to Tinubu and the rest of them, that Your Excellency, sir, in conclusion, we further urge you to encourage those in the international community clamoring for war to support those diplomatic initiatives and refrain from actions that may worsen the situation. Okay, it's a long letter, but I've just been sent by my contact in Abuja somewhere. And you see, so it is, like I'm saying, how come the leadership, like the Kufuados, the Tinibus, and I think one or two, the moment they said, oh, we have to go and fight, people in Benin, they say, no, we don't want to be part of that. Chad say, we don't want to be part of that. Algeria say, no, lie, we are ain't happening. Burkina Faso say, hey, Burkina Faso and Mali. They say, if you bring this thing, that means a war, regional war. Kufuado and his brother Tinibu, Mr. Sambayo, they got it wrong, didn't they?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Now, I think the doctor is back. Dr. Remi, are you back?
Yes, I'm back, please.
Right.
I'm back.
First question. Your currency, our currency, the ECO, it's not happening. It's nowhere to be found. Why is the ECO not working for ECOWAS citizens?
The ECO is not working, as I've already said. It's been moved from one post to the other since 2007, from 2007 to 2010, 2010 to 2015. Why it has not been working is because of this, the Anglophone, Francophone issue rearing its ugly head. Principally, there's what they call the convergence principles that they need to adhere to. We realize that both Ghana and Nigeria are pushing hard for it, but at the same time, we have some countries like Cote d'Ivoire spearheading, not having it done on time. But there are convergence principles that they need to go. So they are working towards 2025, but that one is not too sure. But the main problem is there. The real Anglophone, Francophone rivalry, and the target, as we all know, is usually Nigeria, and they're being spearheaded by one of the superpowers. I mean, one of the principally France. Let's be realistic, because the France will still want the Francophonie, the countries under the Francophone group, also IMOA group, to still subscribe to the CFCA, their own currency there, which they call the CFA. Yeah. So
right.
The problem is
right. A quick one about this money, then I will ask you about the current situations. But the point is, what I want to ask is, for the sake of we normal people who don't understand the technicalities, when you say convergence, what exactly does it mean?
That is to say they must get to a certain level. Each of the countries they must meet certain principal criteria for them to agree that they are moving into that group. Yeah. So we realize some of the countries have not got to that level, while some have.
It is Nigeria that is creating...
Sorry. No. Please. Raise your hand. Because, look, we want... He is the main guest. If you raise your hand, I'll let you ask your question or your contribution. If you cut in like this, then we are all in trouble. Let the doctor speak. I'll let you speak. I'll let you ask your question.
One can interrupt a little bit. If the doctor's,
That's what I said. If you raise because it's Zoom. If you raise your hand, I'll let you speak. Honestly. If you raise your hand. Doctor, are you still there?
I'm there. I'm still here.
Yeah. Land on the point and let the convergence thing. Does it mean that, for instance, in money terms, is it that MUSA should be able to bring, let's say, my GDP to the same level as Dr. Remi? Is that the convergence you are talking about?
That's part of the convergence principle.
Okay.
Those are part of the convergence. But again, you must also understand that there's internal politics there. Politics by the, let me say, France as well. Yes.
So as for this big animal conference, let's put it aside first. Let's talk about our Africa, how we are going to go forward is where we are starting today. So you, France, we all know. Let's leave it. Who wanted to come in? Sorry. Is it Ishola? Somebody, the one who wanted to come in before I say wait till he's finished.
I think it's General Ishola Williams also.
Is that Ishola Williams? Are you there? Okay. Let's continue. So Ishola, if you come in again, then we can. Yeah. The numbers I gave out, I say please copy it down. 07897 266 297. If you send me the message, then I can relate to you and I can give you further information about when we are going to do this discussion again. It's very important. As usual, West Africa, if it's not Nigeria, it's Ghana. We have to start the ball rolling. So before anyone comes in, and now that we've got you here again, before you come, we were talking about how hastily your president, my president, I think another fellow again, I think it's only about 3 heads of state who decided that we should send troops to Niger to go and fight to restore democracy. In fact, I heard George Weah complain. I heard the president of Benin say he wasn't going to be part. Is it Chad or something to they froze? They said they aren't going to be part. Algeria said no, they don't want to know. Then we have Burkina Faso, Mali and Guinea also saying, hey, this is going to happen. Do you think the two leaders, I think notably the Ghana president and the Nigeria president, they were too quick, too hasty in, bringing about this particular proposal, Doc?
Yeah, you are right. Actually, it seems one of the reasons why citizens are going against this issue of going to war is like a sanction. And before a sanction can be utilized under the framework, they need to do what they call fact-finding mission, evaluation mission. And these people are complaining because this was not the case with Mali, Guinea-Bissau, and Burkina Faso. And why now? So we believe that there must have been putting the horse before the cart. Yeah, it's a mistake, and it's not something to be allowed. Instead of relying on military as the ultimate measure for the military infraction, it is more efficient to strengthen the institution itself rather than enforcement, because the issue of enforcement at this particular stage should not have graduated into having the military to go into the country. And that's why is too dangerous. I mean, if you remember Clausewitz, von Clausewitz, he said wars are too dangerous to be left with military, and diplomacy is to be too dangerous to be left with diplomats. And in such cases, the two have to go hand in hand. But however, if you look at the communique itself, they use the word, the threat of force. But however, given the importance that people are fed up with the way in which the head of state are just assuming without taking into consideration the whims, the interest of the people, that's why the whole thing went out of proportion. In fact, in some countries, basically Nigeria, Tinubu is seen to have even been taking the country out on war, given the fact that even in the country itself, there's still some problem in terms of even the welfare of the people. Why would you take? So when you look at it, it's not well crafted. Possibly the communique was not well crafted enough, or secondly, the enforcement raises concern about the potential of abuse of power. Abuse of power in the sense that at least you should have heard from the military guys their complaints as well. Thank you.
Our president said didn't they know about this? You know, the bitter feeling about external forces, especially the Francophone countries. Anytime you see them having a coup or this, you see them tearing off French flags. And with the in fact, we those here in the UK and other places, if you follow Ajebiwa news, the French are behind this, that there should be transformation quickly, that this coup should be overturned. You know, that hatred almost, that's the black Africans now have for these French people. Our leaders don't seem to know that. Why do you think that is a problem? Why do you think they are completely detached, or, you know, it looks as if they don't know how the ordinary people feel about colonialists, the neo-colonial, neo-liberals, and all this and all that? What do you say to that?
I think you are right. The people are aware, and they know fully well that there is a double standard being played. Double standard raises some questions. When you look at what you just said, with every legitimate concerns ECOWAS might have got, but there is a number of questions that still poses some questions to and needs answer. Is it the place of a state to work assiduously towards making coup unfashionable? At least when you look at some of our member states as well, like you look at Ghana, Nigeria, Cape Verde, and Benin, in their constitution is expressly said there. And when these issues happen in most of our countries, it's true that they said external forces are behind it or are involved. But quite to some extent, the state also have their own role. By extension, the citizens, we can say they are legitimate in their demand, and they're asking that this is what they demand of the state. For example, they tend to see double standards being issued, that why this time around double standard measures and practices. And coup, when you look at it, they believe that coups that are made by the politicians through the changing of the constitutions are not usually addressed by the leaders themselves, but they are much more focusing on the issue of military coup d'etat. So, with respect to the colonial masters, I mean, the only reason you said it earlier, the citizens also believe that our leaders are dancing to the tune of the colonial masters. That when you look at it, as you've rightly said earlier, even the benefits of the war, which we know why countries go to war.
Let me ask you, when you were in the position you were previously, did you feel, did you notice that somehow some pressure was being brought to bear from outside of the continent. Did you feel it? Was it visible? Or we are just imagining it?
No, it's visible. It's visible, given the fact that even among the head of states, we have some of them who have been in, let me say, in international organizations like being in the World Bank. Some have been there. I don't want to mention them. They are very strategic thinkers. They think ahead, and at the same time, they dictate the affairs within. And some of these people are even being said to be teleguided and dancing to the apron string of what they are being told. So those are even, it got to a stage where myself and few of my colleagues were saying ECOWAS is being destroyed so as to build like IMWA.
I see.
IMWA is the counterpart of ECOWAS.
Okay.
So it's been glaring there. It's been glaring, especially when
we have a lot to discuss. I tell you, we've gone past my time, but we will carry on a little bit more. I think the conversation will have to carry on every often, so that you being the face of the sort of how do I say someone within the system, or you were at least when you gather some information, you can send it along to your former colleagues. Say, hey, perhaps certain things we're doing, thinking our people were not interested, or were not listening or watching. They are listening, they are watching, and some of the things, I think if we listen to them properly, we can all move forward. Because this is not, ECOWAS, being ECOWAS is not just a job. It is the livelihood of hundreds of millions of people, if we can get it right. FM Ubi, your hand is up. What do you want to say, FM, before I go to Kwesi?
Thank you very much. My hand has been up for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I must thank Professor Ajebiwa for inviting me to this program. Definitely I've heard it. I've heard so much.
I call out a certain number. You must write it down and send your details to me, so that next.
I took down the number. And that's no problem.
That's fine. Let's go. Now go ahead.
As a matter of fact, I think let me continue from where Prof ended. I think we are actually missing the mark in West Africa, or in Africa as a whole. We're actually missing the mark. Some 3-4 years ago, I did a paper titled, "Is Democracy Failing in Africa? Is liberal democracy failing in Africa, or Africa failing under liberal democracy?"
Sure.
Now, the answers was that whichever way we want to look at it, democracy has failed in Africa. Liberal democracy has failed in Africa, and Africa is failing under liberal democracy. And I also put forward in this article the fact that liberal democracy is alien to Africans, because it is adopted and applied hook, line, and sinker. Normally, when you adopt a system, you're supposed to adapt it to suit your political, social, structural dynamics, not just to adapt it. Because even if you look at the Western countries, they practice different kinds of democracy. The kind of democracy liberal democracy America is practicing is different from the French. It's different from Britain. It's different from how the Europeans, the EU, practice their kind. And so I think it is high time, that we Africans would begin to build an identity for ourselves, based on our history, on our culture, on our language. We need an identity. Each country in Africa needs an identity. And if we're able to do that, I think we'll begin to have a stronghold of our societies. Now, you see, what ECOWAS did, some 2 Sundays ago, by asking for intervention in Niger, it was too abrupt. It was extempore, for an organization of such nature to start asking for military intervention. You rightly said it. Why didn't intervention took place in the case of Mali, in the case of Guinea, in the case of Burkina Faso? Why is it for Niger? So you find out that there's an external factor in the whole of this game, you know, and I think Africans should begin, our leaders should begin to understand that, you know, I heard one of the presidents in that meeting saying that democracy, liberal democracy or democracy brings about development. Democracy does not bring about development, but it is development that actually sustains democracy, which I think it's a myth. This is a myth that we have lived all our life when they tell us democracy brings about development. No. From my research and from experiences with other nations, we found out that actually it is development that sustains, consolidates democracy. And so once you are able to provide for the people, once you are able to give the people what they want, you know, that once there is no gain from the whatever form of democracy you're practicing, we are bound to see such issues like military coups, social revolution, rebellion, self-determination, secession. These are all issues that will raise its ugly head in Africa.
All the point you phrased, before Sambayo comes in, his hand has been up for a while too. You see, I want to ask you, when you mention we should have our own this and that and everything else, including you mentioned language. And I'm thinking, well, if you bring that one in, how many of us will say Hausa is spoken from the top of Guinea, part of Mali, all the way to Niger and Nigeria area? So it should be our international language. How many of us will agree that maybe we should all learn Swahili or Yoruba or Igbo or Fanti or Ashanti Akan or in a crew or crew? What I'm driving at is that the European, the Europeans have some, indigenous individual cultures and traditions. But you find out in their parliament, they try to restrict to one or two, maybe, let's say, language, general conversational language. Then the others will be interpreted or translated, auto-cued. Fair enough. Why? My problem is, we in Africa, we are fixated. Now, the moment we start talking like this, it looks as if we forget that we have to maintain something that binds us together. So even if, look, I'm a pure Pan-African, but I will tell you that if it is that we all have to speak the English language very, very well, so that we can use to do our internal business against the outsiders, fair enough, other than to bring more problems where it is not needed. But this man, Bayo's hand is up, and I see. But
can I just say something?
Okay, finish it.
You switch over to Bayo. You see, when I mean that we build an identity, where I'm not saying ECOWAS as an entity, as a unit, should build an identity based on using language. I'm talking about our individual country. Yeah. Now, what is
we are not here to talk about your countries, please.
Well, excuse me. That is where it starts from.
Where does it start?
When you build an identity, and you see, with that, excuse me.
Go ahead.
Now, you see, we are all working towards building a region that is devoid of underdevelopment, devoid of military purchase and all that. But I think each and every facet of that development must start from the national to the supranational. You understand? So this is exactly what I'm saying. I'm not saying that we should, yes, even if we start from that perspective, we can get a lot, we can get up to that point where we can now begin to say, okay, let's use this as you rightly said it, maybe 2-3 languages within ECOWAS, and now use that as a yardstick to determine whatever we want to do and live up to expectations. I think that is it. Maybe I need to make it a little bit more clearer,
Okay. Ms. Abayo.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Ambassador Ajebiwa. Sam Oyabayo is my name. Well done. I really salute your courage to come, and speak to the people. You weren't here when a lot of things were said, so I will try and kind of repeat, because I know if a lot of people are too big, quote and unquote, to speak to their people. But for you to have done this, I salute your courage. Well done. What I said when your connection was away were kind of question about the future plan or the plan of ECOWAS. As a retired senior officer of ECOWAS, what do you think, has ECOWAS got any future plan at all? What is like 200 years plan, 100 years, 50 years, 10 years plan in terms of moving things? When none of us will be available, are there plans for that? You talked about some countries not paying. What came to my mind was that maybe they don't see the advantage of being an active member. I'll give you an example. A lot of countries in EU, were in there because of the advantages they are making. Business people, a lot of business companies, that were in London before Brexit had to move. People lost their jobs. So that tells you that there are advantages in this union. If ECOWAS is so active and qualitative there in whatever they do, countries that not even join will be forced to join by their people, saying that we are losing out here, and so on and so forth. So I'm just thinking of, are there things that are expectations of, let's have a big dream of ECOWAS in future that works for the citizens, that can move from one country to the other, spend one currency. It doesn't matter if all the countries don't join. If there are X number of countries that join and it is active, it is very productive, and business people across those countries are benefiting others who want to join.
Sure. Right.
Thank you.
That is bio for you. Then I'm going to go to Mr. Kofi Ali, then I'll go to Kwesi. Then the last word will go to the doctor to summarize for us. So, Kofi Ali.
Thank you very much. This issue of convergences, people have been disturbing us with. It's the most, I sometimes ask myself, what do we think we are doing? When France was to bring the countries to spend the CFA France, was there this convergency thing they were talking about? Nobody talk about any convergences. France printed the money and gave it to them, and they all use it. France is the power behind that money today. That what France has done with that money is it has connected the economies of all those countries as one. What we have in ECOWAS is to connect our economy as one, independent of the French economy. France and Americans are not comfortable with this. They are the problem that or even the so-called French-speaking countries are coming to fight with them. We all remember the history of Laurent Gbagbo. When he said they won't use the CFA anymore, what are we talking about? We need to understand what we pay anytime we use the dollar. Everything we do in West Africa is the dollar or CFA. Let us understand. We do not need any convergence or any disagreement. I've said and said again, you cannot have a common currency without a common law. And there's nowhere in the world, I think some of us are assuming the laws are there, or some of us are seeing our countries' respective heads of states as if they are gods. They are human beings like you and I. Akufo-Addo soon will be a civilian in Ghana. Right now, where's Mahama? Is he not a Ghanaian? Where is Buhari? Is he not a Nigerian? These people will always be part of us. Democracy only works when there is technological and economic prosperity. When we are not conscious we are doing, maybe we don't know what we are doing. We are trying to push the Europeans out so that we take the Americans out, so that the multinational corporations will be ours.
You've made a point and more. And look, you've made a point. You've made a point. Keep it there. Kwesi, quickly before I go to Doctor to sum up.
Yeah,
Kwesi, the gentleman who spoke before Kofi Ali, I would like to side with him. You see, I want to give a suggestion to Prof, who is at the other side. Musa, you know what is happening is that, like all the other speakers have said, you see, these internal forces which divided Africa into bits and bobs, English here, French here, other countries here, is still a force to reckon with. So what we need to understand is that technocrats like the professor who is now the host for tonight's show, Musa, they should look at the West African Anglophone countries. Look at Ghana, Gambia, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and those Anglophone countries. And look at how best those countries can have their common parliament. Now, Musa, if you want to go into the
Kwesi, are you really drawing the whole thing back to say that it looks as if the French people are giving us so much problem? So we, the English people, should have our own parliament and leave them. I don't get you.
Hold on. You see, the Francophone guys, it's not easy to have a common currency when they are still around.
You see, I don't want us to. How do I say it?
Let me. Do
I have to repeat? These people are now.
What we are doing, we are sharing
the French people. Yeah, I understand you, but I want to look. We have to cancel each other out. If I say something and you don't, you can also say, "Look, I don't." What I don't agree with you.
Let me finish, and I will. You understand me? Let me share my opinion.
All right.
Professor is listening. You see, Musa, we have struggled so far as ECOWAS to get a common currency, to get a common trade for our business folks within West Africa. And, you know, in trade, when there's a common currency, Musa, it makes the people bond together.
Yeah.
So it is good for the technocrats who are working on the ECOWAS framework to say that, look, we have a problem because language barrier, these external forces. So why can't they mediate within the Anglophone countries? Nigeria, Ghana, these two countries are powerful states within the West Africa, so that they can lobby the other Anglophone countries. Look, can we start our common currency project? We put the laws in place, parliament in place, and let's see whether we can have a common currency to trade among ourselves.
All right.
Then if the Francophone people think that, hey, these guys are working together, then, you know, if they want to merge, then the conventions come in.
All right.
It's a big issue.
Okay.
Thank you so much,
you made your point. You've made your point. Oh, thank you too. Let's see. Okay. Where are we? Right. Before I go to Doc. Doc, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Now the last word is going to be from you. What I want to ask you though is that Kofi Ali says something very poignant, and that is, it looks as if we are speaking the language of the same people who are always drawing us down, using language like convergence and everything. Kofi Ali says, look, when the French people gathered to make all these French-speaking African countries, make them one currency, they didn't have any convergence issue. And so why are we now talking about convergence? What do you say to that?
The issue of convergence, as you rightly explained, in ECOWAS, they agree on consensus. You might be right that some member states are at advanced level. But one thing I tell you is that they normally want to agree on consensus, and that's the views of the head of state. Nevertheless, if they want to have it done, as rightly pointed out by my brother, it can be done. It can be done, but it will take some time, just like any other vision. It takes a longer process, and some people will be drawing it back. And in this, both the member states as well as the regional organization, they have their own role. The role is there for them to be played. Meanwhile, the regional organization, ECOWAS in this case, have a role to ensure that the member states are complying with this convergence principle. And if some of them are not complying, then you can't force them. They will ask you to give them another time. The same thing with the issue of coup, when we come that when I'm making. So that's what I would just say there. If the political will is there, it's something that they can do, forgetting about the interference of the so-called colonial masters. Yes.
Right. On this point, Doc, we will have to end it here. And hopefully, I will ask you behind closed doors to find us more members, even those who are actively involved now, maybe to come and have dialogue with us. Sometimes we're going to be very passionate and everything, but I think it's important. So I will thank you for, like the other gentleman Bayo said, we all appreciate your time, being very brave to come and talk to us. Not many of your colleagues will do that. So I'll thank you very much. Have a good evening, and hopefully this won't be the last. Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks so much. Yeah. It's a pleasure having me around. You said I should make the concluding, or it's finished already?
Oh, conclude the lines for us.
Okay. I think with what my colleague said about vision, what plan ECOWAS the Vision 2050 is there, as I said, is when you look at 2007, when we moved from secretariat to commission, the head of state agreed that ECOWAS of state to now ECOWAS of people. And when you look at the Vision 2050, it set policy directions and the aspirations of the community for the next 30 years. And not only that, the future is always for the best prepared. And I think ECOWAS is getting prepared for the near future, given the fact that the citizens are now questioning, even the leaders, that they have not been opening the Pandora boxes. And even not only that, even elections in some countries now, for example, you see that the incumbents are not returned. So it's a way, say we people, we are now having it. So when having said that, but with the situation in Niger, it's just unfortunate that the coupist playbook has developed already, which I said from the onset to some of the people who called me, that the coupists, they've taken the coup, they've kidnapped the president, and they've negotiated his release for and then what we need to see now is determination for an open transition period pending election. And unfortunately, just like we see initially before 2013, we don't normally have the coup leaders as part of the incoming. But from 2016, we started having the coup leaders saying that they want to become part of it. So the issue of incumbency also creates a problem. So that at least at the end of the day, when the election is held now, we could see that it's the same person coming in. And with the issue of some countries not paying, Cape Verde in particular, you are right, they see more themselves more as EU. But unfortunately, they apply for EU, they are not given membership. But possibly because of the color as well. Then finally, we also said in our discussion, when the institutions of the state is built, institutions like the National Electoral Commission, the Human Rights Commissions are built, and there's an investment in training and reform process to promote transparency, accountability, and respect for human rights, things will be improved in our country, and there will be little for ECOWAS to play. So there, in an essence, there is the role for the state itself, and there's also the role for the regional bodies. when the issue of sovereignty as well as that of supranationality clashes. So it means there's infraction. So there's usually infractions on the national and regional laws, and the appropriateness of military response becomes even more contentious. That what do we do now, since the people don't have the right, and the civilians and then the military realize that there's also the political infractions, which falls under another issue as well. So it's a continuous and debatable issues that you brought. Thanks for inviting me. And we believe that ECOWAS of the people, there will be peace and prosperity for all, as I've said earlier. That's the vision that the leaders are looking towards. Thank you, MUSA.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I will talk again. Thank you. Have a good evening. The rest of you, look, thank you. I need to finish. I need to close. I will send another invite anytime, at the convenience of everyone. I will try and do that. Thank you all for participating. Have a good night. Have a good night. So this is where we bring the curtains down. And I will say thank you, all of you, those of you who participated, those of you listening on the radio, tuning and everywhere. I thank you very much. This has been a program sponsored by Top Connect. Like I say, we'll do it quite often to see if we can reshape anything. Thank you very much and have a good night. As we say in Ghana, Mary Maguzi, that means I've done, complete I've done.
Magay, sewa oba fefe adam mama samadan onto yewe yeah oba fefe oh emi ara etimo kosra ma sewa megen katsle yo enyijo nebusi eham neyeku na semo na mema mese emi
NFM Radio. Listen to Fire with NFM Radio on Ajebiwa MANSA MUSA Ajebiwa. And Monday to Saturday, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m.
You're the light I see through the crooked path. You walk right beside me.